Yo, so I'm live again. Today is the 19th of February. Yeah, I think I watched my videos and I think my sound is a little bit not so loud because I have my microphone on my PC, so I don't like have a real microphone. So I think you just have to turn the volume up if you want to hear me properly, I guess. So today I'm gonna read the Academic Chairs of Virtue and onwards. So yeah, this book, of course, can be found at gutenberg.org, completely free and completely legal. And what I have done is I just copy pasted it into my Word document because that makes it easier to read, I think. If you want to learn about me, check out myclassroommeeting.com, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and yeah, that will be it. So last time we finished the three metamorphoses, which I kind of understood, I think, but maybe not completely. And I didn't take any quotes from this part actually, because I mean, I don't really think I understood it that well. You know, you have the camel, which is the load-bearing spirit, and then the lion, which has free will, and the child creates new values. But I mean, isn't that it? I mean, I don't know. Okay, but reading this today, the Academic Chairs of Virtue. People commended unto Zarathustra, a wise man, as one who could discourse well about sleep and virtue. Greatly was he honored and rewarded for it, and all the youths sat before his chair. To him went Zarathustra, and sat among the youths before his chair, and thus spake the wise man. Respect and modesty in presence of sleep, that is the first thing, and to go out of the way of all those who sleep badly and keep awake at night. I sleep really badly actually. I've been sleeping badly for a really long time also. And it is very important to sleep well, I think. I'm not going to have why I sleep badly. I do work many hours usually, so I just have to get up very early and I come home at like 5 p.m. or something. It varies a bit. And I just feel like I have not that many hours, you know, to sort of just be alone or just do my thing, I guess. I don't know. So I just tend to stay way too long, and I have to get up at maybe 5 or 6 a.m. the next morning again. So I mean, just last week I maybe slept an average of 6 hours every night, or less maybe even, I don't know. And it's been this for like all the fall of 2021, and yeah, it's been really bad. So it's interesting that he talks about sleep this early. To go out of the way of all those who sleep badly and keep awake at night. So basically just go out of the way from like people like me, I guess. Modest is even the thief in presence of sleep. He always stealeth softly through the night. Immodest, however, is the night watchman. Immodestly he carrieth his horn. No small art is to sleep. It is necessary for that purpose to keep awake all day. 10 times a day must thou overcome thyself. That causeth wholesome weariness and is poppy to the soul. I'm gonna look up poppy actually. Copy, exactly remember what that means. Just means like a plant. Copy. Okay, so just a plant, red plant. I'll just say red plant actually. But he's using it in like, it means like healthy to the soul, I guess. "10 times must thou reconcile again with thyself, for overcoming is bitterness, and badly sleep the unreconciled. 10 truths must thou find during the day, otherwise wilt thou seek truth during the night, and thy soul will have become hungry." I'm sort of debating whether I want to try to explain every single one, or just go through all of them and then go back again and try to explain them later. I don't know. Yeah, but you know, it is not for the purpose to keep awake at all day. That makes sense. So actually wear yourself down, both physically and mentally. And the way you do that is by, for example, overcoming yourself. But you know, this is like, you can't really overcome yourself 10 times every day. I mean, you'll be lucky to overcome yourself once every day, I guess. But these are sort of very optimistic rules. Okay, 10 truths must thou find during the day, otherwise wilt thou seek truth during the night, and thy soul will have been hungry. 10 times must thou laugh during the day, and be cheerful, otherwise thy stomach, the father of affliction, will disturb thee in the night. Few people know it, but one must have all the virtues in order to sleep well. Shall I bear false witness? Shall I commit adultery? Shall I covet my neighbor's maidservant? All that would ill accord with good sleep. Yeah. So this, it makes a lot of sense, I think. Sort of, because like your mental state, how can I explain it? If you just like don't do anything, then you don't really have any reason to be tired, or you're not like worried. But there are many like elements to your personality, or like to your being. For example, you have to overcome yourself, and you have to reconcile again with yourself. So don't like so things don't gnaw on your conscience. And you must find 10 truths during the day. And you have to be laugh and be cheerful. So like if you do all these things, then you will sleep well. I think it makes sense. Since you must all the virtues in order to sleep well. And even if one have all the virtues, there is still one thing needful, to send the virtues themselves to sleep at the right time, that they may quarrel with one another, the good females, and above thee, thou unhappy one. Peace with God and thy neighbor, so desireth good sleep, and peace also with thy neighbor's devil, otherwise it will haunt thee in the night. Honor to the government, and obedience, and also to the crooked government, so desireth good sleep. How can I help it, if power like to walk on crooked legs? This is a good quote, I think. I mean, there are other good quotes here as well. Just trying to find which one. I think I'll just quote this one here. Okay. I mean, sleeping is also, when it says sleeping, it's also like almost a metaphor for like just resting, just taking a step back from everything you're doing and just sort of rerouting your brains a bit, I guess. I am live. I should be live, yeah. Yeah, hopefully I'm live. I'm just gonna check if I'm live. Yeah, I'm live. I'm not sure if you actually need to have all the virtues in order to sleep well, but I think, I mean, I don't know. Okay. He who leadeth his sheep to the greenest pasture shall always be for me the best shepherd, so doth it accord with good sleep. Many honours I want not, nor great treasures, they excite the spleen, but it is bad sleeping without a good name and a little treasure. A small company is more welcome to me than a bad one, but they must come and go at the right time, so doth it accord with good sleep. Well also do the poor in spirit please me, they promote sleep. Blessed are they, especially if one always give in to them. Thus passeth the day unto the virtuous. When night cometh, then take a good care not to summon sleep. It is like it to be summoned, sleep, the lord of the virtues. But I think of what I have done and thought during the day. Thus ruminating, patient as a cow, I ask myself, what were the 10 overcomings? And what were the 10 reconciliations, and the 10 truths, and the 10 laughters with which my heart enjoyed itself? Thus pondering, and cradled by 40 thoughts, it overtaketh me all at once, sleep, the unsummoned, the lord of the virtues. Sleep tappeth on my eye, and it turneth heavy. Sleep toucheth my mouth, and it remaineth open. Verily, on soft souls doth it come to me, the dearest of thieves, and stealeth from me my thoughts. Stupid do I then stand, like this academic chair. But not much longer do I then stand, I already lie. When Zarathustra heard the wise man thus speak, he laughed in his heart, for thereby had a light drawn upon him, and thus spake he to his heart. A fool seemeth this wise man with his 40 thoughts, but I believe he knoweth well how to sleep. Happy even is he who liveth near this wise man. Such sleep is contagious, even through a thick wall it is contagious. And magic resideth even in this academic chair. Not in vain did the youths sit before the preacher of virtue. His wisdom is to keep awake in order to sleep well. And verily, if life had no sense, and had I to choose nonsense, this would be the desirablest nonsense for me also. Know I well what people sought formerly above all else when they sought teachers of virtue. Good sleep they sought for themselves, and poppy had virtues to promote it. To all those belauded sages of the academic chairs, wisdom was sleep without dreams. They knew no higher significance of life. Even at present, to be sure, there are some like this preacher of virtue, and not always so honourable, but their time is past, and not much longer do they stand. There they already lie. Blessed are those drowsy ones, for they shall soon nod to sleep. Thus spake Zarathustra. Many honours I want not, nor great treasures, they excite the spleen. I think spleen, that means it's something in your body, I think. I'll check it out. Spleen. An abdominal organ. Okay, and it's the production of and removal of blood cells in most vertebrates, forming part of the immune system. Okay, but it has like bad mood, ill temper, ill humor, annoyance is the synonyms here. Okay. Bad humor. I'll just spell bad humor. So what it's saying is that you need a good name and some treasures. A small company is more likely than a bad one, but it was coming out to the right time. Yeah, this is like very standard thinking, I guess. But this is an old man. This is not Zarathustra. This is an old man who says this. And Zarathustra says he heard this man speak, and he laughed in his heart. He says he's a fool, seems, with his 40 thoughts, but I believe he will not sleep. So in some sense, it's not like very deep. It's not like revolutionary stuff, this thing. It's not like this wise man is very deep with this thing, but you know, it is very important to sleep well, for sure. And like if you do this, if you have like a life that is rich enough that you do overcoming and reconciliation and laughing and truth seeking, then you're sort of, then you can rest well, of course, you know. Okay, backworldsman. Once on a time, Zarathustra also cast his fancy beyond man, like all backworldsmen. The work of a suffering and tortured God did the world then seem to me. The dream and diction of a God did the world then seem to me, colored vapors before the eyes of a divinely dissatisfied one. Good and evil, and joy and woe, and I though colored vapors did they seem to me before creative eyes. The Creator wished to look away from himself, thereupon he created the world. Intoxicating joy is it for the sufferer to look away from his suffering and forget himself. Intoxicating joy and self-forgetting did the world once seem to me. This world, the eternally imperfect and eternal contradictions image and imperfect image, and intoxicating joy to its imperfect creator, thus did the world once seem to me. Thus, once on a time, did I also cast my fancy beyond man, like all backworldsmen, beyond man, forsooth. And forsooth, that means indeed, did I find out previously here. In truth, in fact, indeed. Okay. Ah, ye brethren, that God whom I created was human work and human madness, like all the gods. A man was he, and only a poor fragment of a man and ego. Out of my own ashes and glow it came unto me, that phantom, and verily it came not unto me from the beyond. What happened, my brethren? I surpassed myself, the suffering one. I carried mine own ashes to the mountain. A brighter flame I contrived for myself, and lo, thereupon the phantom withdrew from me. To me, the convalescent, would it now be suffering and torment to believe in such phantoms? Suffering would it now be to me, and humiliation. Thus speak I to backworldsmen. Suffering was it, and impotence that created all backworlds, and the short madness of happiness, which only the greatest sufferer experienceth. Weariness, which seeketh to get to the ultimate with one leap, with a death leap, a poor ignorant weariness, unwilling even to will any longer, that created all gods and backwards. Believe me, my brethren, it was the body which despaired of the body. It groped with the fingers of the infatuated spirit at the ultimate walls. Believe me, my brethren, it was the body which despaired of the earth. It heard the bounds of existence speaking unto it. And then it sought to get through the ultimate walls with its head, and not with its head only, into the other world. But that other world is well concealed from man, that dehumanized, inhuman world, which is a celestial nought. The bounds of existence do not speak unto man, except as man. Verily, it is difficult to prove all being, and hard to make it speak. Tell me, ye brethren, is not the strangest of all things best proved? Yea, this ego, with its contradiction and perplexity, speaketh most uprightly of its being. This creating, willing, valuing ego, which is the measure of value of things. And this most upright existence, the ego, it speaketh of the body, and still implieth the body, even when it must museth and raveth and fluttereth with broken wings. Always more uprightly learneth it to speak, the ego, and the more it learneth, the more doth it find titles and honours for the body and the earth. A new pride taught me mine ego, and that teach I unto men, no longer to thrust one's head into the sand of celestial things, but to carry it freely, a terrestrial head, which giveth meaning to the earth. A new will teach I unto men, to choose that path which man hath followed blindly, and to approve of it, and no longer to slink aside from it, like the sick and perishing. The sick and perishing, it was they who despised the body and the earth, and invented the heavenly world, and the redeeming blood drops. But even those sweet and sad poisons they borrowed from the body and the earth. From their misery they sought escape, and the stars were too remote for them. They sighed, oh, that there were heavenly paths by which to steal into another existence and into happiness. Then they contrived for themselves their bypaths and bloody draughts. Beyond the sphere of their body and this earth they now fancied themselves transported, these ungrateful ones. But to what did they owe the conversion and rapture of the transport? To their body and this earth. Gentle is Zarathustra to the sickly. Verily, he is not indignant at their modest consolation and ingratitude. May they become convalescents and overcomers, and create higher bodies for themselves. Neither is Zarathustra indignant at a convalescent who looketh tenderly on his delusions, and at midnight stealeth around the grave of his God, but sickness and sick frame remain even in his tears. Many sickly ones have there always been among those who muse and languish for God. Violently they hate the discerning ones, and the latest of virtues, which is uprightness. Backward they always gaze toward dark ages. Then indeed were delusion and fate something different. Raving of the reason was likeness to God, and doubt was sin. Too well do I know those godlike ones. They insist on being believed in, and that doubt is sin. Too well also do I know what they themselves most believe in. Verily, not in backwards and redeeming blood drops, but in the body do they also believe most, and their own body is for them the thing in itself. But it is a sickly thing to them, and gladly would they get out of their skin. Therefore hearken they to the preachers of death, and themselves preach backwards. Hearken rather, my brethren, to the voice of the healthy body. It is a more upright and pure voice. More uprightly and purely speaketh the healthy body, perfect and square built, and it speaketh of the meaning of the earth. Thus spake Zarathustra. So this is a longer discourse, and I can't really say too much about it, I think. The term backwardsman, what does that mean? Well, I mean, Nietzsche sort of believes in the Superman and the meaning of the Earth. So he believes in humanity basically, just to improve it. And I think like the backwardsman is the representation of the people who don't believe in humanity, maybe. Hmm. The work of a suffering and tortured God did the world then seem to me. Divinely dissatisfied one. Yeah, so it's like they're not really happy with the Earth. The creator wishes to look as away from himself. Thereupon he created the world. So he's not creating the world in his own image. Convalescent. Doesn't that mean like the opposite? Convalescent. Convalescing to recover health. Oh, okay. Ah, the recovering ones. Okay. The convalescent one is the recovering one. Yeah. So here it says, believe me, my brethren, it was the body which despaired of the body. It groped with its fingers over the infatuated spirit at the ultimate walls. Yeah, I think what it basically means is that, it's like the disappointed ones, basically, who don't like what humanity is and they want to speak ill of it. And it's not only that, but they sort of picture themselves, they try to create a back world in some sense. If you Yeah, but it's also different. It's a difficult all being and hard to make it speak. Tell me, Beren, is not the strange of all things best proved? So when it comes to things like ego, Nietzsche is pro-ego because ego is like the instinct of the strong faculty, maybe you can say. And this most upright existence, the ego, it speaketh of the body and still implieth the body, even when it museth and raveth and fluttereth with broken wings. Always more uprightly learneth it to speak, the ego, and the more it learneth, the more doth it find titles and honours for the body and the earth. A new pride taught me mine ego, and that I teach unto men, no longer to thrust one's head into the sand of celestial things, but to carry it freely a terrestrial head, which giveth meaning to the earth. A new will teach I unto men, to choose that path which man hath followed blindly, and to approve of it, and no longer to slink aside from it, like the sick and perishing. Yeah, I think I understand what it means. It all has to do with religion in some sense, that, Christianity is, according to Nietzsche, is like an invention of the weak, to basically hide from their humanity, and to sort of come up with these creative ideas for why things are like they are. And Nietzsche thinks that there's something life negating about that. He doesn't like that. No longer to thrust one's head into the sand of celestial things. So celestial means like super terrestrial. Celestial, it means like heavenly, or playing with the skies of heaven. Yeah, so just in like religion, it's like because it's not because you're not strong enough in yourself, or you don't believe humanity is good enough, then you want to believe in heaven and celestial things, right? No longer to thrust his head into the sand of celestial things, but to carry it freely, a terrestrial head, which give it meaning to the earth. Exactly. I mean, I have sort of thought about Nietzsche for a while, so it's not like I'm reading this for the first time, or that I'm basically sort of prejudiced when I'm reading this in some sense, and I sort of think what it means, because it is what I imagine Nietzsche already means, which I sort of think I know. If you understand. What? Why is it weird? Oh, I always mix the quoting tab with the wording definitions. Okay, so yeah. The sick and perishing was they who despised the body and the earth, and invented the heavenly world and the redeeming blood drops, that even the swains and born from the earth and the earth. Yeah, so the sick and the perishing, they invent religion. But even like the products from religion is the products from the earth, basically. And when you read it, you might think that that Zarathustra or Nietzsche is like an evil one who just hates the weak or whatever. But he doesn't say that he's gently Zarathustra to the sickly. Verily, he's not indignant at their at their modes of consolation and ingratitude. May they become convalescents and overcomers, meaning healing ones. So you want them all good, you know. Too well also do I know what they themselves most believe in. He knows them, he knows them. Verily, not in backwards and redeeming blood drops, but in the body do they also believe most, and their own body is for them a thing in itself. Yeah, so he's saying that even those sort of people who don't believe in this thing, like on the immediate level, but done like on a very sort of fundamental, they are actually also like this, you know. But it is a sickly thing to them, and gladly would they go out of their skin. Therefore hearken they to the preachers of death, and then themselves preach backwards. So I need some quotes from here, I think. Maybe this. What happened, my brethren? I surpassed myself, the suffering one. I carried my own ashes to the mountain. A brighter flame I contrived for myself, and lo, thereupon the phantom withdrew from me. So what does that mean? I think it means that if you sort of live your suffering, if you accept it, like Jordan Peterson sometimes talks about, does it mean that? I sort of feel like I get what it means, but I can't. I'm not 100% sure about it. I mean, all these are in some sense good quotes. Yeah, this ego with its contradiction and perplexity, speaketh most uprightly of its being, it is creating, willing, evaluating ego, which is the measure of the value of things. I think this quote sums it up, these backwardsmen. Yeah, we can do all these three last quotes. Hearken rather, my brethren, to the voice of the healthy body. It is a more upright and pure voice. More uprightly and purely speaketh the healthy body, the perfect and square built, and it speaketh of the meaning of the earth. Okay, well done. That sums it up. And now we have the despisers of the body, which you would think is the same thing. I don't know. To the despisers of the body will I speak my word. I wish them neither to learn afresh nor teach anew, but only to bid farewell to their own bodies, and thus be dumb. Body am I, and soul. So saith the child. And why should one not speak like children? But the awakened one, the knowing one, saith, Body am I entirely, and nothing more, and soul is only the name of something in the body. The body is a big sagacity, a plurality with one sense, a war and a peace, a flock and a shepherd. An instrument of thy body is also thy little sagacity, my brother, which thou callest spirit, a little instrument and plaything of thy big sagacity. Ego, sayest thou, and art proud of that word, but the greater thing, in which thou art unwilling to believe, is thy body with its big sagacity. It saith not ego, but doeth it. What the sense feeleth, what the spirit discerneth, hath never its end in itself, but sense and spirit would fain persuade thee that they are the end of all things, so vain are they. Instruments and playthings are sense and spirit. Behind them there is still the self. The self seeketh with the eyes of the senses, it hearkeneth also with the ears of the spirit. Ever hearkeneth the self, and seeketh, it compareth, mastereth, conquereth, and destroyeth. It ruleth, and is also the ego's ruler. Behind my thoughts and feelings, my brother, there is a mighty Lord, an unknown sagas. How do I pronounce this fucking word? I always sage or sage, I don't fucking know.
Sage.
Sage, okay. An unknown sage, profoundly wise person, a person famed for wisdom, some venerated for the possession of wisdom, judgment, and experience. Sage, thank you. Okay, there is a mighty Lord, an unknown sage, it is called self, it dwelleth in thy body, it is thy body. There is more sagacity in thy body than in thy best wisdom. And who then knoweth why thy body requireth just thy best wisdom? Thyself laugheth at thine ego, and its proud prancings. What are these prancing and flights of thoughts unto me? It said to itself. A byway to my purpose. I am the leading string of the ego, and the prompter of its notions. The self saith unto the ego, feel pain, and thereupon it suffereth, and thinketh how it may put an end thereto, and for that very purpose it is meant to think. The self saith unto the ego, feel pleasure, thereupon it rejoiceth, and thinketh how it may oft times rejoice, and for that very purpose it is meant to think. To the despisers of the body will I speak a word. That they despise is caused by their esteem. What is it that created esteeming and despising and worth and will? The creating self created for itself esteeming and despising. It created for itself joy and woe. The creating body created for itself spirit as a hand to its will. Even in your folly and despising, yet ye each serve yourself, ye despisers of the body. I tell you, your very self wanted to die, and turned away from life. No longer can yourself do that which it decided most, create beyond thyself. That is what it decided most, that is all its fairer. But it is not too late to do so, so yourself wisheth to succumb, ye despisers of the body. To succumb, so wisheth yourself, and therefore have ye become despisers of the body, for ye can no longer create beyond yourselves. And therefore are ye now angry with life and with the earth, and unconscious envy is in the sidelong look of your contempt. I go not your way, ye despisers of the body, ye are no bridges from me to the Superman. Thus spake Zarathustra. So it is the same theme, basically, as the previous one, I feel. So here, it just said, but the awakened one, the knowing one said, body am I entirely and nothing more, and soul is only the name of something in the body. It is the same theme that we have been talking about. It is in the human that the meaning and everything good is supposed to come from. Not all this creative creations like religion and everything that, you know. Sagacity, I'm pretty sure I know what it means. I'm gonna look it up actually. Sagacity. It means like being very smart or clever, I think. Sagacity. Acuteness of mental discernment and soundness of judgment. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, why does it do this? Being like having your mental faculties in check, basically. The body is a big sagacity, a plurality with one sense, a war and peace, a flock and a shepherd. So we need some quotes from here too. Yeah, here we are, way more than said theme. There is more sagacity in thy body than in thy best wisdom. And who then knoweth why thy body require just thy best wisdom? It is so. With much of this book, I sort of feel like I get to understand halfway what he means, but not all the way. And there's many nuances even to sort of statements which appear to be very maybe one-sided, or like you might read it and think that okay, I know what it means there, but it's like, yeah, it means that, but also there's like a nuance to it, which is almost the case, you know, always the case. To the despiser of the body will I speak a word, and that the despise is caused by their esteem. To succumb, so wish it yourself, and therefore have you become despisers of the body, for you can no longer create beyond yourselves. It might be probably rude to say so, but when I sort of try to understand what it means here, I sort of always think of like the leftist kind of type, you know. I sort of just feel like this is very typical of like, because there's a certain type of person, you know, who is, well, there can be many types, but there's this sort of type of person who is drawn to be like a leftist and want to censor everyone and want to have like, and basically they could be like described as a despiser of the body, because the body is like a representation of the healthy, well, of everything that that like the healthy human do, healthy human according to Nietzsche, like having ego and like being strict and being strong and, you know, all these things. It is obviously more complicated than that, but I sort of feel that it fits very well with like the leftist type, basically. At least the leftist that you come across on Facebook or in any comment section. Basically. And therefore are you no angry with life and with the earth. I mean, they are angry types, you know. And unconscious envy is in the sidelong look of your contempt. Exactly. I go not your way, ye despisers of the body, ye are no bridges for me to the Superman. It seems like it's always in the end of every sort of section or this discourse thing that he says, like he basically concludes what the best thing is. Okay, but I want to quote from this section. I want only to get good quotes. I don't really understand fully what this means, so I can't quote it. Should I just quote all these three again? I kinda don't like that, because so we have these kind of hang together then. These three quotes hang together, and these three quotes also hang together then. So it's sort of a longer quote. Okay, let's continue. Joys and passions. My brother, when thou hast a virtue, and it is thine own virtue, thou hast it in common with no one. To be sure, thou wouldst call it by name and caress it, thou wouldst pull its ears and amuse thyself with it. And lo, then hast thou its name in common with the people, and hast become one of the people and heard with thy virtue. Better for thee to say, ineffable is it, and nameless, that which is pain and sweetness to my soul, and also the hunger of my bowels. Let thy virtue be too high for the familiarity of names, and if thou must speak of it, be not ashamed to stammer about it. Thus speak and stammer, that is my good, that do I love. Thus does it please me entirely, thus only do I desire the good. Not as the law of a god do I desire it, not as a human law or a human need do I desire it. It is not to be a guidepost for me to the super earths and paradises. An earthly virtue is it which I love, little prudence is therein, and the very least everyday wisdom. But that bird built its nest beside me, therefore I love and cherish it. Now sitteth it beside me on its golden eggs. Thus shouldst thou stammer and praise thy virtue. Once hadst thou passions and calledst them evil, but now hast thou only thy virtues, that grew out of thy passions. Thou implantest thy highest aim into the heart of those passions, then became they thy virtues and joys. And thought thou wert of the race of the hot-tempered, or of the voluptuous, or of the fanatical, or the vindictive, all thy passions in the end become virtues, and all thy devil's angels. Once hadst thou wild dogs in thy cellar, but they changed at last into birds and charming songstresses. After thy poisons brewedst thou balsam for thyself, thy cow, affliction, milkest thou, now drinkest thou the sweet milk of her udder. And nothing evil groweth in thee any longer, unless it be the evil that groweth out of the conflict of thy virtues. My brother, if thou be fortunate, then wilt thou have one virtue and one more, no more. Thus goest thou easier over the bridge. Illustrious is it to have many virtues, but a hard lot. And many a one hath gone into the wilderness and killed himself because he was weary of being the battle and the battlefield of virtues. My brother, are war and battle evil? Necessary, however, is the evil. Necessary are the envy and the distrust and the backbiting among the virtues. Lo, how each of thy virtues is covetous of the highest place, It wanted thy whole spirit to be its herald. It wanted thy whole power, in wrath, hatred, and love. Jealous is every virtue of the others, and a dreadful thing is jealousy. Even virtues may succumb by jealousy. He whom the flame of jealousy encompasseth turneth at last, like the scorpion, the poison sting, against himself. Ah, my brother, hast thou never seen a virtue backbite and stab itself? Man is something that has to be surpassed, and therefore shalt thou love thy virtues, for thou wilt succumb by them. The Spake Zarathustra. Joys and passions. So here it says that you're only supposed to, well, it's better to only have one virtue and basically die by that virtue, essentially, if that is this kind of virtue that you have, at least. He said, let thy virtue be too high for the familiarity of names, and if thou must speak of it, be not ashamed to stammer about it. I like this. Again, I get sort of this Jordan Peterson connection feeling. Because he says that you shouldn't really just say that you like believe in God. It should be something more personal, for example. And Nietzsche says, I think what he means is it's the same with your highest virtue. It's not about the facade. It's not about what you say it is. It's supposed to be almost so that you can't really explain it. But if you have to speak it, don't be ashamed to speak of it badly. Thus speak and stammer, that is my good, that do I love, thus does it please me entirely, thus only do I desire the good. Because everyone are very different, so, and everyone should have their unique virtue, basically, I think. And it should speak to you, and you will know it, and you can't necessarily explain it to anyone else. And again, an earthly virtue is it which I love. Once hadst thou passions, and calledst them evil, and now hast thou only virtues. They grew out of thy passions. Oh, this word again. I have looked it up so many times, but I always forget what the fuck it means. Voluptuous means... Voluptuous, without the comma, full of characterized by or ministering to indulgence in luxury, pleasure, or sensuous enjoyment. We can go by this. Well, I guess we can. Oh, I don't click it. Fuck you. It just skips to the next page without me clicking it. Getting fucking angry here. So it means minimization to indulgence in luxury, pleasure and sensory. I need the simplest definition actually. Oh my god. Meaning. This is only for me, this is my Norwegian translations. Vellystig, okay. Luxury or sensual pleasure. Maybe that's why I don't remember it, because I can't, even the definition don't really stick in my head. Oh. So what he's saying that it's your virtues should come from your passions, no matter what kind of person you are. Which is why everyone will have a different virtue. I will definitely quote these two. These are good quotes. Let thy virtue be too high for the familiar names, and if thou must speak of it, be not ashamed to stammer, but thou speak and stammer, there is my good, there is well, I will the question entirely does not answer. Yes, sir. And there was many more good quotes there. Once had so wild dogs in a cellar, but they changed at last into birds and charming songstresses. Yeah, your personality can change if you assume virtues, perhaps. It's like from your worst side comes your best side, but does that really work like that? Like imagine a guy who's like very disagreeable, don't get along with anyone, is like very lonely and is very angry and bitter at life and everyone. And like, will that side of him turn him into... Yeah, it can work, I think. Because then he has the experience, like if he then becomes the opposite, it can work like that, I think. Because then he sort of... if he is that, then he understands that, and he will always understand that, and that will allow him a much greater understanding of the different modes of being, basically. So yeah, if that means it does work. So again, it says, then wilt thou have one virtue and no more, thus goest thou easier over the bridge. Illustrious means illustrating, is it a many virtues, but a hard lot, and many a one hath gone into the wilderness and killed himself because he was weary of being the battle and battlefield of virtues. Yeah, that is also two good quotes, which we will save. I'm saving so many good quotes here. I wonder if I should like, should I really bother like writing which chapter it is from now? My brother, are war and battle evil? Necessary, however, is the evil. Necessary are the envy and the distrust and the backbiting among the virtues. So it says that evil is necessary. Which is kind of controversial, you know. But it's definitely something to it, you know, even if I can't explain it, because, well, it's not, I mean, humanity, as long as humanity has the capacity for evil, then in some sense it is necessary to sort of own it in a way that lets you at least understand it. If you just want to sort of bury it under the surface and pretend it's not there, like what we see in today's world that people are doing, then, I mean, what that will lead to is potentially extremely unfortunate. And I think this theme is like, if you think about communist, the Soviet Union. I mean, again, I haven't really studied this too much. And it's not like a perfect analogy, but I think in some sense it could apply to that. Each virtue is covetous of the highest place. It wanted to be its herald. Meaning that each virtue want to go to the extreme of its kind. So it takes sort of the whole personality of the person, the whole spirit, want to be its herald. What I hold power in wrath, hatred, and love. Jealous every virtue of the others, and a dreadful thing is jealousy. Even virtues may succumb by jealousy. He whom the flame of jealousy encompasseth turneth at last like the scorpion, the poison sting against himself. Yeah, jealousy. In the sort of broadest term of the definition, you know. That is extremely detrimental. And it will ruin a person, definitely. Ah, my brother, hast thou never seen a virtue backbite and stab itself? I mean, have I ever seen that? It is so sort of, you have to think so metaphorical. So again, we have the last quote here. Man is something that has to be surpassed, and therefore shalt thou love thy virtues, for thou wilt succumb by them. Yeah. Summed it up again. You're supposed to succumb by your virtues. Thus spake Zarathustra. Number 6. The pale criminal. Ye do not mean to slay, ye judges and sacrificers, until the animal hath bowed its head? Lo, the pale criminal hath bowed its head. Out of his eye speaketh the great contempt. Mine ego is something which is to be surpassed. Mine ego is to me the great contempt of man. So speaketh it out of that eye. When he judged himself, that was his supreme moment. Let not the exalted one relapse again into his low estate. There is no salvation for him who thus suffereth from himself, unless it be speedy death. Your slaying, ye judges, shall be pity, and not revenge. And in that ye slay, see to it that ye yourself justify life. It is not enough that ye should reconcile with him who ye slay. Let your sorrow be love to the Superman. Thus will ye justify your own survival. Enemy shall ye say, but not villain. Invalid shall ye say, but not wretch. Fool shall ye say, but not sinner. And thou, red judge, if thou would say audibly all thou hast done in thought, then would every one cry, away with the nastiness and the virulent reptile. But one thing is the thought, another thing is the deed, and another thing is the idea of the deed. The wheel of causality doth not roll between them. An idea made this pale man pale. Adequate was he for his deed when he did it, but the idea of it he could not endure when it was done. Evermore did he now see himself as the doer of one deed. Madness, I call this. The exception reversed itself to the rule in him. The streak of chalk bewitched the hand. The stroke he struck bewitched his weak reason. Madness after the deed, I call this. Hearken, ye judges. There is another madness besides, and it is before the deed. Ah, ye have not gone deep enough into this soul. Thus speaketh the red judge. Why did this criminal commit murder? He meant to rob, I tell you, however, that this soul wanted blood, not booty. He thirsted for the happiness of the life. But his weak reason understood not this madness, and it persuaded him. What matter about blood? It said. Wishest thou not at least to make booty thereby, or take revenge? And he hearkened unto his weak reason, like lead lay its words upon him. Thereupon he robbed when he murdered. He did not mean to be ashamed of his madness. And now once more lieth the lead of his guilt upon him, and once more is his weak reason so benumbed, so paralyzed and so dull. Could he only shake his head, then would his burden roll off. But who shaketh that head? What is this mean? What is this man? A mass of diseases that reach out into the world through the spirit. There they want to get their prey. What is this man? A coil of wild serpents that are seldom at peace among themselves, so they go forth apart and seek prey in the world. Look at that poor body, what it suffered and craved. The poor soul interpreted to itself, and it interpreted it as murderous desire, an eagerness for the happiness of the knife. Him who now turneth sick, the evil overtaketh which is now the evil. He seeketh to cause pain with that which causeth him pain. But there have been other ages, and another evil and good. Once was thought evil, and the evil willed to self. Then the invalid became a heretic or sorcerer. As heretic or sorceress he suffered, and sought to cause suffering. But this will not enter your ears. It hurteth your good people. Ye tell me, but what does it matter to me about your good people? Many things in your good people cause me disgust, and verily not their evil. I would that I had a madness by which they succumbed, like this pale criminal. Verily, I would that their madness were called truth, or fidelity, or justice, but they have their virtue in order to live long, and in wretched self-complacency. I am railing alongside the torrent. Whoever is able to grasp me may grasp me. Your crutch, however, I am not. The Spake Zarathustra. So here we have the pale criminal. So this is a little bit difficult to understand, I think. When the judge himself, that was his supreme moment, let not the exalted one relapse again into slow estate. Yeah. There is no salvation for him who does suffer it from himself, unless it be speedy death. So by the term pale criminal, does it mean like a criminal who is like ashamed of his deeds? This is a bit deep, I think. What does red judge mean? What is signified by the term red? Okay, so an idea made this pale man pale. Adequate was he for his deed when he did it, but the idea of it he could not endure when it was done. Evermore did not see himself as the doer of one deed. Madness, I call this. The exception reverses itself to the rule in him. So, like, think of like a person who does a murder, and I think like I mean, when it comes to like this kind of Nietzsche morality, a murder is like not necessarily the worst thing you can do. Sometimes, oh, it's so hard to explain, but like, we obviously live in a very sort of kindness-based society or morality, where like you have kindness is at the top and evil is at the bottom, and like murder is like synonymous with evil, for example. But Nietzschean morality is not like that. Oh. Because he said adequate was he for his deed when he did it, but the idea of it could not endure when it was done. So it's like he's adequate. Let's say just steal something. I sort of feel like I understand it, but I can't explain it. Hearken, ye judges, there is another madness besides, and it is before the deed. Ah, ye have not gone deep enough into the soul. Okay. Thus speaketh the red judge. Why does he not commit murder? He meant to rob. I tell you, however, that his soul wanted blood, not booty. He thirsted for the happiness of a knife. Yeah, because humans, we are like animals, right? We have violent fantasies, obviously. So you can think of it like a person who steals like a golden thing from someone, and he happens to murder him at the same time. But what Nietzsche would say, or Zarathustra is saying, that subconsciously he actually really wanted to kill that man, and the stealing was almost his sort of excuse, or his reason, but not his real reason. But this weak reason understood not this madness, and it persuaded him. What matter about bloods, I said, wished thou not at least make booty thereby, or take revenge? And he hearkened unto his weak reason, like lead lay its word upon him. Thereupon he robbed when he murdered. He did not mean to be ashamed of his madness. And now once more lieth the lead of his guilt upon him, and once more is his weak reason so benumbed, so paralyzed, and so dull. So it says that it is his weak reason that that sort of telling him that he only wanted to rob for the resources. Could only shake his head, then we were off. Not shake his head. Yeah, I don't really understand too much of this chapter, to be honest. But I think these two are very interesting. Well, this one. So I'll quote this one. Well, I mean, the point is probably broader, and I only understand sort of this part of it. But the thing about Nietzsche, he has a very profound point he wants to explain, and in order to explain that, he has to explain something else. And before that, because it is necessary, and I only am able to understand that sort of auxiliary point he explains, but the sort of broader point is on another level, which I can't really reach. We're live for 1.5 hours actually. Time really flies when I'm doing this. I've only read 4 chapters. But I'm trying to understand it. Many things in your good people cause me disgust, and verily not their evil. He is not disgusted by evil. I would that I would have a madness by which they succumb, like this pale criminal. Yeah, Nietzsche really likes the people who are extreme. Well, because in the criminals, it sounds like, I'm supposed to defend criminals or something. But there is definitely something to be said about like criminals, like being it's an example of something, and it is an example of something human, you could say, at least. He's disgusted by many things, and verily not their evil. He's not disgusted by evil, because that is sort of like, that is taken for granted. That is That is just fundamental almost. I would that I had a madness by which they succumbed, like this pale criminal. Verily, I would that their madness were called truth, or fidelity, or justice, but that they have their virtue in order to live long and in wretched self-complacency. I am a railing alongside the torrent. Whoever is able to grasp me may grasp me. Yeah, I don't feel like I can grasp you, bro. Not completely. Basically, what is important is truth, right? If evil is evil, but it still might be the truth, still might be innocence or fidelity or just yes. It is hard to understand this. I will move on. Part 7. Reading and writing. Of all that is written, I love only what a person hath written with his blood. Write with blood, and thou wilt find that blood is spirit. It is not easy task to understand unfamiliar blood. I hate the reading idlers. He who knoweth the reader doth nothing more for the reader. Another century of readers, and spirit itself will stink. Every one being allowed to learn to read, ruin it in the long run, not only writing but also thinking. Once spirit was God, then it became man, and now it even becometh populace. He that writeth in blood and proverbs doth not want to be read, but learnt by heart. In the mountains the shortest way is from peak to peak, but for that route thou must have long legs. Proverbs should be peaks, and those spoken to should be big and tall. The atmosphere rare and pure, danger near, and the spirit full of joyful wickedness, thus are things well matched. I want to have goblins about me, for I am courageous. The courage which scareth away ghosts created for itself goblins it wanted to laugh. I no longer feel in common with you. The very cloud which I see beneath me, the blackness and heaviness at which I laugh, that is your thundercloud. Ye look aloft when ye long for exaltation, and I look downward because I am exalted. Who among you can at the same time laugh and be exalted? He who climbeth on the highest mountains laugheth at all tragic place and tragic realities. Courageous, unconcerned, scornful, coercive, so wisheth us, she is a woman, and ever loveth only a warrior. Yet tell me, life is hard to bear, but for what purpose should ye have your pride in the morning and your resignation in the evening? Life is hard to bear, but do not affect to be so delicate. We are all of us fine sumpter asses and assesses. What have we in common with the rosebud which trembleth because a drop of dew hath formed upon it? It is true we love life, not because we are wont to live, but because we are wont to love. There is always some madness in love. Okay. There's always some madness in love, but there is always also some method in madness. And to me also, who appreciate life, butterflies and soap bubbles and whatever is like them amongst us seem most to enjoy happiness. To see these light-footed, pretty, lively little sprites flight about, that moveth Zarathustra to tears and songs. I should not believe in a god that would know how to dance. That would... And when I saw a devil, I found him serious, thorough, profound, solemn. He was a spirit of gravity, through him all things fall. Not by wrath, but by laughter do we slay. Come, let us slay the spirit of gravity. I learned to walk, since then have I let myself run. I learned to fly, since then do I not need pushing in order to move from a spot. Now am I light, now do I fly, now do I see myself under myself, now there danceth a god in me. Thus spake Zarathustra. That was a little beautiful, I think. This is a good chapter. Of all that is written, I love only what a person have written with his blood, write with blood, and thou wilt find that blood is spirit. That is a quote for sure. So that means put your soul into it, put your spirit into it. Write with blood. It is no easy task to understand unfamiliar blood. I hate the reading idlers. I sort of thought that what he meant here was that when he said I hate the reading idlers, that he hated people who people who read a lot but don't do anything about their wisdom. They just want to acquire more and more and more, and there's they have all this wisdom and knowledge, but they don't really apply them in the real world. And it's sort of you have a few academic types who know a lot, and they just keep on reading and learning and everything, but what does it amount to? It's nothing in the end, because they just die by they're 70 and they have read 500 books or whatever. But maybe it is because it's not Untitled Chapter. I hate reading idlers. But this is interesting. He who knoweth the reader doeth nothing more for the reader. Okay. Another century of readers and spirit itself for his think. Okay, well, at least everyone being allowed to learn to read ruin it in the long run, not only writing but also thinking. This is a popular quote. In the mountains, the shortest way is from peak to peak, right? But for that route, thou must have long legs. Proverbs should be peaks, and those spoken to should be big and tall. So the ideal is that there should be a hierarchy when it comes to knowledge. Because when everyone sort of reads, you can say, then it sort of degrades the wisdom or the knowledge that you acquire from. Because in some sense, well, what is saying that you should be a serious reader. He that writeth in blood, you should write in blood and Proverbs. Not read but learned by heart. It's almost like you transmute passion on a deep level, and not everyone is susceptible for that. But this is a good quote. I want to have goblins about me, for I am courageous. Courage was scared of a ghost and created for itself goblins. I wanted to laugh. Goblins. What is a goblin actually? It's I sort of think of an orc. Okay, here's a goblin. What is a mythological? A mischievous, ugly creature resembling a dwarf. You can just look up goblin symbolism. symbols of temptation and the dangerous sexual appetites of men. Their behavior reflects societal fears about how women become fallen. Many works of Victorian art and literature represented fallen women who were tempted, seduced, and then abandoned by their false lovers. They begin as mythological monsters, then become male goblins, then become merchantmen. Also the metaphorical reading of this poem. Okay. What? So it's like an... It will have sort of have different meanings, but it means... In this context... Well, you can just look at the pictures. What is a goblin? Here is a goblin for you. Very common. A goblin. I want a goblin something for I'm courageous. Yeah, you want that creature only because I'm courageous. The courage which scared away ghosts created for its goblins. It wanted to laugh. You look aloft when you long for exaltation. Exaltation means like to rejoice. I think to have been rejoicing. No, not at all. It means promote and praise. Oh my god. Exalt is it to mean? Is it that means to laugh, I think? To rejoice. Yeah, exalt. Exalt. Exalt means to promote and praise. Promote, praise. So what does this mean? Who among you can at the same time laugh and be exalted? And here, this I remember from Wild Rant also. And it was much... Every quote is better in the Wild Rant reading of Nietzsche, I think. But it could be because when you hear someone speak about someone sort of say it very well, then you sort of... It gets in your brain a lot more, a lot better. He who climbeth on the highest mountains, meaning like he who can reach the highest metaphorical places, laugheth at all tragic plays and tragic realities. That is actually true, and most people don't realize this, but I think to have the capacity for humor and comedy again I'm going to sort of go in the right-left dichotomy. The people on the right, they are comedians in some sense. They much more readily laugh and make jokes and have fun. While on the people on the left, they are more sort of like, it's like they're sullen, right? They are serious. And here he says, and when I saw my devil, I found him serious, thorough, profound, solemn. He was the spirit of gravity. For him all things fall. So when I thought about this before, and I think of this as very sort of a right-left thing where, I mean, I like to laugh a lot. I like to to make jokes and everything. And the person on the right, who I love the most, he is a supreme comedian, definitely. So this is very true of him. And I think just in general, you know, there are many famous figures. Yeah. But I don't want to mention names, because then it becomes too much about that, you know. Courageous, unconcerned, scornful, coercive, so wisdom wisheteth. She's a woman, and ever loveth only a warrior. It is true we love life, not because we are want to live. What is want to live? Want because we are given to live. Okay. Oh, so I used the wrong tabs again. Here's the quotes. Here are the verbs. And this is very famous too. There is always some madness in love, but there is always also some method in madness. Yeah, method in madness. People who go mad are instructive cases, because in whatever tangent they go mad on, there will always be a number of people who are sort of on the same page, just not, that hasn't gone that far, you know. And so when you sort of observe these mad people, then you learn about humanity, basically. You learn about this sort of mode of thinking, right? And to me also, who appreciate life, the butterflies, the soap bubbles, and whatever is like them amongst us, seem most to enjoy happiness. To see this light, foolish, pretty, lovely little sprites flit about, that moved Zarathustra to tears and songs, I should only believe in a God that would know how to dance. Yeah. Also famous. Yeah, so yeah, this was called Passions, I think. Joy, no, reading and writing. Okay. But it is very important to sort of acknowledge all the nice things about life. These foolish, pretty, lovely little sprites flit about, that move Zarathustra to tears and songs. Just all these nice things, beautiful, all the creatures of life, everything. Happiness. Seem most to enjoy happiness. And when I saw my devil, I found him serious, thorough, profound, solemn. He was a spirit of gravity. Through him all things fall. Yeah. Not by wrath, but by laughter do we slay. Come, let us slay the spirit of gravity. This chapter had many good quotes. Yeah, this is a beautiful chapter. Okay. Chapter 8, is it a chapter? It's like a discourse. Discourse 8, is that how you should say it? Zarathustra's eye had perceived that a certain youth avoided him, and as he walked alone one evening over the hills surrounding the town called the Pine Cow, behold, there found he the young sitting leaning against a tree, and gazing with wearied look into the valley. Zarathustra thereupon laid hold on the tree beside which the youth sat, and spake thus: If I wished to shake this tree with my hands, I should not be able to do so. But the wind, which we see not, troubled and bended it as it listeth. We are sorest bent and troubled by invisible hands. Thereupon the youth arose disconcerted, and said, I hear Zarathustra, and just now was I thinking of him. Zarathustra answered, Why art thou frightened on that account? But it is the same with man as with a tree. The more he seeketh to rise into the height and light, the more vigorously do his roots struggle earthward, downward, into the dark and deep, into the evil. Yea, into the evil, cried the youth. How is it possible that thou hast discovered my soul? Zarathustra smiled and said, Many a soul one will never discover unless one first invent it. Yea, into the evil, cried the youth once more. Thou saidst the truth, Zarathustra. I trust myself no longer, since I sought to rise into the height, and nobody trusted me any longer. How doth that happen? I changed too quickly. My today refuted my yesterday. I often overleap the steps when I clamber, for so doing none of the steps pardons me. When aloft I find myself always alone. No one speaketh unto me. The frost of solitude maketh me tremble. What do I seek on the height? My contempt and my longing increase together. The higher I clamber, the more do I despise him who clambereth. What doth he seek on the height? How ashamed I am of my clambering and stumbling. How I mock at my violent panting. How I hate him who flieth. How tired I am on the height. Here the youth was silent, and Zarathustra contemplated the tree beside which they stood, and spake thus: This tree standeth lonely here on the hills. It hath grown up high above man and beast, and if it wanted to speak, it would have none who could understand it, so high hath it grown. No, it waited and waited. For what doth it wait? It dwelleth too close to the seat of the clouds. It waited, perhaps, for the first lightning. When Zarathustra had said this, the youth called out with violent gestures, Yea, Zarathustra, thou speakest the truth. My destruction I longed for, when I desired to be on the height, and thou art the lightning for which I waited. Lo, what have I been since thou hast appeared amongst us? It is mine envy of thee that hath destroyed me. Thus spake the youth, and wept bitterly. Zarathustra, however, put his arm about him, and led the youth away with him. And when they walked for a while together, Zarathustra began to speak thus: It rendeth my heart, better than a verse express it. Thine eyes tell me all thy danger. As yet thou art not free, thou still seekest freedom. Too unslept hath thy seeking made thee, and too wakeful. On the open height wouldst thou be, for the stars thirsted thy soul, but thy bad impulses also thirst for freedom. Thy wild dogs want liberty, they bark for joy in their cellar when thy spirit endeavoureth to open all prison doors. Still art thou a prisoner, it seemeth to me, who deviseth liberty for himself. Ah, sharp becometh the soul of such prisoners, but also deceitful and wicked. To purify himself is still necessary for the freedman of the spirit. Much of the prison and the mould still remaineth in him. Pure hath its eye still to become. Yea, I know thy danger, but by my love and hope I conjure thee, cast not thy love and hope away. Noble thou feelest thyself still, and noble others also feel thee still, though they bear thee a grudge and cast evil looks. Know this, that to everybody a noble one standeth in the way. Also to the good a noble one standeth in the way, and even when they call him a good man, they want thereby to put him aside. The new would the noble man create, and a new virtue. The old wanted the good man, and that the old should be conserved. But it is not the danger of the noble man to turn a good man, but lest he should become a blusterer, a scoffer, or a destroyer. Ah, I have known noble ones who lost their highest hope, and then they disparaged all high hopes. Then they lived they shamelessly in temporary pleasures, and beyond the day had hardly an aim. Spirit is also voluptuousness, said they. Then broke the wings of their spirit, and now it creepeth about and defileth where it knoweth. Once they thought of becoming heroes, but sensualities are they now. A trouble and a terror is the hero to them. But by my love and hope I conjure thee, cast not away the hero in thy soul, maintain wholly thy highest hope. Thus spake Zarathustra. So here we have a longer one. My foot just had this reaction or something. God damn it. I have to pull my toes back because they sort of... Is it called cramp in English? I don't know. Okay. So here Zarathustra speaking to this young person. So here we have a metaphor. I think you know what this means, basically. Oh, God damn it. My leg is sleeping. It's so uncomfortable. Okay. The more he seeketh to rise into the heightened light, the more vigorously do his roots struggle earthward, downward, into the dark and deep, into the evil. It is difficult to reach, to be the highest man, to be a Superman. And the Superman is sore spent and troubled by invisible hands, by the way. And the higher he grows, the further does his roots struggle earthward, downward, into the dark and into the evil. That's a good quote. Should I take this one too? Yeah, this is also a good quote. I wonder if, like, this is me watching. Okay, where were we? That's a good quote. So this youth basically represent a sort of to be Superman, or not as a Superman, but to be someone, you know. And here is his troubles. I change too quickly. My today refuted my yesterday. I often overleap the steps when I clamber. For so... Oh my god, I'm getting echo. Yeah, don't watch your own stream while you're streaming. That's a hint. Then you will have a forever loop of echoes. It changed too quickly, men. Today if you miss it, I can only set my camera. So, you know, this tree standeth lonely here on the hills, it had grown up high above man and beast. And if it wanted to speak, it would have none who could understand it, so high hath it grown. Okay, I think you need both of these. Basically meaning as further up, either in terms of knowledge or wisdom you achieve, then you in some sense you really relate less and less with the average common masses of people, and when you speak your truth, then if you're too high, they just won't understand. I think I'm gonna read one more and then I'm going to end it because it's getting a bit late and I'm getting a bit tired. We're going for 2 hours now. Noble thou feelest thyself still, and noble others also feel thee still, though they bear thee a grudge and cast evil looks. Yeah. Know this, that to everybody a noble one standeth in the way. That is interesting. Also to the good a noble one standeth in the way, and even when they call him a good man, they want thereby to put him aside. The new would be noble man would be no man great, and the new virtue, the old wanted a good man, and that the old should be conserved. So this here we have and this is sort of a sort of feel like almost applies to me. Well, I mean, this here, in some sense, that is my life. I'm not gonna pretend it's not, you know. I gamble, I play games, I just don't do anything, and I've been living in 30 years for like this. So, I mean, I don't feel like I disparage all high hopes, but I can relate to it. And that we will also quote. Spirit is voluptuousness, said they. And what the fuck was voluptuousness again? Voluptuousness. Sensuousness. Sexuality. Voluptuousness. Sensuality. Okay, I'll just look at it. Sensual. Okay, just says sensual. Sensual. Okay. Spirit is also sensual. So, well, because it says that, you know, just live in shameless temporal pleasures. But even that you can argue is a form of spirit, like they say. Then broke the wings of the spirit, and now it creepeth about, and defileth where it knoweth. Oh, I'm getting tired, bro. I'm gonna stop here. Actually, I'm not gonna read this one. Once they thought of becoming heroes, but sensualists are they now. A trouble and a terror is the hero to them. But when my love and hope I conjure thee, cast not away the hero in thy soul. Maintain holy thy highest hope. I sort of feel like I can relate a lot to this last part here. Unfortunately, you could say. Oh, fucking tired, bro. Hey, but at least I'm reading this fucking book, right? At least I'm doing something. The thing about me is that I will always sort of feel I'm too late to the party. So if I'd started the YouTube channel 4 years ago, then I could know I could be, in my age, it would be much more appropriate. But I mean, I also don't like hold myself to disregard that I am sort of a hero in the making. But you should also not reject yourself. It says, cast not away the hero in thy soul, basically. So you should want to be a hero. I should want to be a hero in the way that I can. Is that what it means though? And so should you. Well, depends. Young men, they need to be heroes. There are too few. They need to do something, you know. They just need to. As Jordan Peterson says, get their fucking act together. But what Jordan Peterson doesn't say, well, he just said that I sort of feel that he's with Nietzsche. You sort of have an aim for something really great. There's something really great implied in his work. But Jordan Peterson, it just says you should get your act together because that will be good in itself. But what Nietzsche says that the reason you should get your act together is because that will be good for the highest, for this really profound thing, you know, this really high hope. of humanity, which is to, broadly speaking, to bring about a culture which will bring about the Superman, basically. So that's why the virtues are so important. That's why heroic acts and any acts that are profound are important. And well, Jordan Peterson wouldn't say there's anything wrong with that, of course. But I sort of it's just sort of feels like a really low level improvement kind of thing. Self-help for the purpose of just self-help. What you gonna do with that? I don't know. Okay, so yeah. Same, but maybe I have to own this. I don't know. I even become shameless about it. I don't really care, in some sense. Should I read this? Yeah, so I will stop here. So this book you can find on projectgutenberg.org. I'm basically reading from this I just copy pasted all of this into Word. That's what I'm reading here. Reading and writing. The Tree on the Hill is basically where we are here. Check out my website, myquestformeaning.com, my YouTube, which I lost right now. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I think I will stream tomorrow too. The Creatures of Death. Yeah, so there are some very good stuff here. This was a very good chapter. This I didn't really understand that well. Joys and Passions I almost don't remember right now. And we have the Spicers of the Body and the Black Worldsman. Academic Chairs of Virtue, which was about sleep. So yeah, I will stop here. Goodbye.